Good morning, guys. I know you guys are not used to seeing me early in the morning, but get used to it. I decided a few weeks ago that I was going to come up with a program to help all of you guys, as well as myself, kind of get back on my spiritual practice that I had stopped doing in the mornings. These are things I used to do every single morning when I got up. Maybe not Saturday or Sunday, but every single morning when I got up. It was my own personal spiritual get right. And I stopped doing that. So I thought, why not share that with you guys, especially those of you guys that are kind enough to support me, and you're kind enough to subscribe both here on YouTube and here on TikTok. So I wanted to put this together for you guys. So I'm not going to answer a ton of questions this morning, but what we are going to do is this. Here in a moment, I'm going to turn on some music and we're going to do some light Qigong that you can do seated every morning. I usually do this before I get out of bed, kind of as a get the fuck up thing. But then I'm going to read you a little passage from this book right here. We're going to read a little bit, maybe not on a daily basis from this particular one, but this is the collective works of Kahlil Gibran. And you can find this on Amazon. It's a pretty good sized book, but everything in here is small. He was a philosopher. He is fantastic. And the passage I'm going to read to you guys this morning has to do with ripples. So, are you guys ready? We're going to do some interesting things today. Some of them you guys may not have done, but I'm going to get my hair out of the way first. You guys can't really see it, but I am sitting on my favorite alpaca rug that I've had for a long time. From this point on, when you guys join me, if you can, I would like for you to be seated somewhere comfortable. You can be in your office chair, wherever it is, but if you can be seated cross-legged like this, it's always better. When you're seated cross-legged and your feet are touching some part of your body, you're hitting all of those pressure points in your feet. Reflexology and pressure points are a major thing. I'm actually going to show you a couple of things you can do today to help strengthen your organs and your heart, and they have to do with pressure points just in your hands. And you can actually kind of scare somebody with doing them. So it's, win-win. All right. So the first thing that we're going to do is just a couple of deep breaths. Now, there are some rules to these deep breaths. They are not just that kind of deep breath like you do at the doctor. These are all the way in, all the way out. We're going to open our arms up. We're going to take big, huge, deep breaths. And then when we breathe out, we're going to literally squeeze the breath out. Okay? Are we ready? So this is one of my favorite meditation playlists on Pandora. It's called the Tao of Peace. Yeah. You ready to breathe in? Breathe out. Breathe in. Breathe out. One more. Breathe in. Breathe out. Now, hopefully when you did that, you felt some of your back, your neck, your shoulders kind of pop a little bit. So while we're doing this, I want you guys to make sure that you're sitting up with your back straight. I'm going to have you do a little bit of things here in the first few times so you guys get used to what we're doing. But we ready? When you tilt your head back, I want you to just breathe for a moment, okay? Just roll your head as best you can. I know this is very simple and very elementary, but you'll have no idea what this does to help loosen your joints. Now, there are tons of things in the palms of your hands that you can do to strengthen your inner organs. Okay? And here's what's even funnier, especially because this is Monday morning. If you're doing this in your office or anywhere somebody can listen to you, this is going to be really funny. So we're going to hit all of these points in our hand, and we're going to do this 15 times, okay? Here's how you do this. You get to make a fist, and you get to just punch your hand. Just travel all over this spot. You will hit every one of these pressure points. While they are pressure points for the chakra and your chi to focus some of your energy, hand reflexology is also a thing. There are points for the heart, the liver, the lungs, all of the things. So we're going to do each hand 15 times. You ready? And you're going to sound a little insane doing it, which makes it even better. Ready? Now we're going to do the other hand. Ready? Yep. I advise you guys to do that in the morning and in the evening, okay? You hit every one of those pressure points. It also helps a little bit for those of you guys that have carpal tunnel, that have issues with your hand. It will help to open up the blood flow in these parts in your hands. The next one we're going to do is with the wrists, okay? Now, if you have carpal tunnel, this will hurt a little at first, okay? I have carpal tunnel, so the first few times I do this, it does hurt a little bit. But this is to strengthen your heart, okay? Not just physically, but emotionally as well. So what you do is you envision that you are holding a flower. You're going to hit these parts of your wrists together, just gently, not really hard, okay? We're going to do this 15 times as well. You ready? And just shake your hands off a little bit. Now your hands are going to feel weird, especially the first few times you do this, because you're not used to doing it. If you get into a habit of doing this on a daily basis, you will notice differences in your health. Now, for those of you guys that have problems with your hands, so I have carpal tunnel. I have typed on a computer, typewriter, etc. since 1994-ish, solidly, okay? I learned some stretching and reflexology from a friend of mine a long time ago, and I try to do it at least a few times a week. But I'm going to show you how to do this. This will strengthen your hands. It will add dexterity to it. So what I do is take all of these and stretch. Don't try to do it too hard, okay? We're going to do one hand and then the other. You're going to feel this all the way down here, okay? The next thing we're going to do is just gently pull your thumb down and back. Gently, okay? Mine stretch really far because I do this on a regular basis. Now we're going to do each finger. Gently. Like I said, I do this a lot, so mine stretch pretty far, okay? You're going to feel this all through your hand. You're going to feel it here, and you should feel it all the way down in here. What this does is it helps to stretch out these tendons, helps to move them apart, and helps to break up some of that fluid that sits in there while you sleep. So this is a great thing to do in the morning to stretch your hands out. Now, ready for the other one? Like I said, gently. You don't have to stretch them super far. Just work up to it, okay? Now the thumb. Pinky. The other thing that this will do is that this will make your hands and your chakra points and your pressure points all more sensitive. So those of you guys that are energy workers, that are training to be energy or light workers, this exercise right here will help to strengthen those a massive amount, okay? You just want to bend it back. You're going to feel it all the way down your wrist, okay? Just hold them like this for just a minute and then out. For those of you guys that have never done that exercise before, you're going to notice that your hands are a little tingly. They may feel a little weird, but I guarantee you that the rest of the morning, you're going to notice improved dexterity, okay? The first few times you start doing this, your hands will be just a little sore, okay? As you continue to do this, you're going to notice a massive difference in your hands. I was to the point about 10 years ago where my hands were like this in the evenings and I would almost cry because they would hurt so bad. And I had this friend show me this and it has changed everything, okay? So the next thing we're going to do is just a couple of stretches for Qigong, and then we're going to read and we're going to have a little chat, okay? Ready? The first thing we're going to do is palms up. Just follow my movements and I will do them nice and slow, okay? So what Qigong is a mix between meditation, martial arts, and these are very, very light things that you can do seated in your bed, seated in your chair, etc. Now, I just want you to place your hand over your chest for a minute, okay? Right in here. So in the chest, all through this area right here, are a whole ton of pressure points. These are for stress relief, for emotional clearing, etc. For right now, for today, we're just going to kind of press our hand there, okay? We're going to switch hands back and forth. But what we're going to do is breathe. But press in, okay? Ready? Press in. How you move your hand doesn't matter. Just be moving, okay? Now we're going to hold this pressure point here. This is in the very middle of your palm. And all you have to do is just hold it. Press just slightly, but not hard enough to hurt yourself, okay? This will help you activate your energy, your life force, your chi, your prana. And you should feel your hand pulsing when you do this. Thumb in the middle of your palm, middle finger on the back. Just press slightly. We're just going to press our fingertips together, okay? I love that someone brought that up. Pressure points can be used for good and for bad. As we go on a little further, I'll teach you guys some that you can use in self-defense, okay? Just breathe for a little bit, okay? I'm going to read you one of the first passages out of this book. Now, this is his collective works. The very first part is called The Prophet. And in The Prophet are all of these just page to page and a half, sometimes 3 or 4 page pieces of philosophy. I'm going to start a little bit down. The first couple of paragraphs, he talks about being in a city for a long period of time, for 12 years. And in the 12th year, on the 7th day, he climbed the hill without city walls and looked seaward, and he beheld his ship coming with the mist. Then the gates of his heart were flung open, and his joy flew far over the sea. And he closed his eyes, and he prayed in the silences of his soul. But as he descended the hill, a sadness came upon him. I'm going to pause a little bit as we go because I want you guys to think about certain things. What he's talking about here is seeing a ship come to take him somewhere else after he's been in the city for 12 years. I want you guys to kind of think about right now where you are in life. Where are you right now? You don't have to have a solid answer because I guarantee you not very many people do have a solid answer. Okay? He thought in his heart, how shall I go in peace and without sorrow? Nay, not a word, not without wound in the spirit, shall I leave this city. Long were the days of pain that I have spent within its walls, and long were the nights of aloneness. And who can depart from this pain and aloneness without regret? While I'm reading this next passage or so, I want you guys to think about the time that you guys have spent alone, that you guys have spent sad, that you guys have spent in the void, in the darkness. Too many fragments of the Spirit have I scattered in these streets, and too many are the children of my longing that walk naked among these hills, and I cannot withdraw without a burden and an ache. It is not a garment that I cast off this day, but a skin that I tear with my own hands. Not is it a thought that I leave behind me, but a heart made sweet with hunger and with thirst. Yet I cannot tarry longer. The sea that calls all things unto her calls me, and I must embark. For to stay through the hours, burn through the night, is to freeze and crystallize and be bound in a mold. So I want you to think about that for a minute. And I'm going to read that one more time because I want you guys to listen to it. For to stay through the hours, burn in the night, is to freeze and crystallize and be bound in a mold. You cannot always stay where you're at. You just can't. Change is inevitable. Change always comes. No matter if you think that you have hit the exact spots that you want to be in, change is going to come. You have to. Fain would I take with me all that is here, but how shall I? A voice cannot carry the tongue and the lips that gave it wings. Alone it must seek the ether. I'm going to read that passage again, and I want you to think about it. You ready? A voice cannot carry the tongue and the lips that gave it wings. Alone it must seek the ether. And alone and without his nest shall the eagle fly across the sun. You have to leave the nest at some point. The nest doesn't always have to be your parents' house, okay? Your nest can literally be a place where you've been stuck for a long time. When you get stuck in that mold, when you get stuck in the rut, when you get stuck in that nest, you are no longer growing. If you're never learning, if you're never moving forward, you're never growing. If you're never suffering setbacks, if you're never suffering getting set on your ass by the universe, then you are not growing. Now when he reached the foot of the hill, he turned again toward the sea, and he saw his ship approaching the harbor, and upon her prow the mariners, the men of his own land. And his soul cried out to them, and he said, Sons of my ancient mother, you riders of the tides, how often have you sailed in my dreams, and now you come in my awakening, which is my deeper dream. There are always people, places, things, situations that come that you feel familiar with, even though you know they're catalysts of change. Ready am I to go, and my eagerness, with sails full, awaits on the wind. I want you to think about that. Ready am I to go, and my eagerness with sails full awaits in the wind. When all of those heralds of change come knocking at your door, don't be afraid of it. We're always taught that we should be afraid of change. When you embrace change and you are continually changing and growing, your whole life will thrive. Only another breath will I breathe in this still air. Only another loving look cast backwards. And then I shall stand among you, a seafarer among seafarers. And you, vast sea, sleeping mother, who alone are peace and freedom to the river and the stream. Only another winding will this stream make. Only another murmur in this glade. And then I shall come to you, a boundless drop, to a boundless ocean. When you guys embrace the change and you move forward and you start to really pay attention to the catalysts and the things that are moving you forward, you're going to see your place in the greater good, in the universe itself. You're going to see that even though you are simply a drop in the ocean, you are boundless as the ocean is boundless. And as he walked from afar, he saw men and women leaving their fields and their vineyards and hastening toward the city gates. And he heard their voices calling his name and shouting from field to field, telling one another of the coming of the ship. And he said to himself, shall the day of parting be a day of gathering? And shall it be said that my eve was in truth my dawn? I'm going to read that one to you again, just the last couple of sentences, and I want you to really think about it. Are you ready? Shall the day of parting be the day of gathering? And shall it be said that my eve was in truth my dawn? I know you guys have heard people say, well, as one door closes, another opens. I know you have heard people say every end is a beginning. And those things are so true. The universe has to remove things out of your bucket to put other things in. If you're already full, there's no room for growth. There's no room for change. So every single time that something sets, that the sun sets on plans or people or any bit of yourself, there's always going to be a dawn with new things, new people, new plans. Shall my heart become a tree, heavy laden with fruit, that I may gather and give unto them? And shall my desires flow like a fountain, that may fill their cups? Am I a harp that the hand of the mighty may touch me, or a flute that his breath may pass through me? A seeker of silences am I, and what treasure have I found in the silences that may dispense with confidence? If this is my day of harvest, in what fields have I sowed the seed, and in what unremembered seasons? And if this indeed be the hour in which I lift up my lantern, it is not my flame that shall burn therein. Empty and dark I shall raise my lantern, and the guardian of the night shall fill it with oil, and he shall light it also. I want you to think about that for a minute. We're going to dissect that. You ready? Because what he's talking about here is two things. Touching people and not knowing how you touch them. Being a cog in the wheel of the universe. And the universe having a plan and a path for everything you do. Whether you call it the universe, spirit, God, Allah, Buddha, any of those things. There's a path that you're following for a reason. I love that he talks about being a seeker of silence. And I love that he also says, if this is my day of harvest, in what fields have I sowed the seed, and in what unremembered seasons? That right there is speaking about the ripples that you make in the universe that you don't even remember. There are going to be so many times that you guys touch the lives of people and you are just doing normal everyday things to you. But what you did made such a difference to that person that it altered their life on a completely different path. These things he said in words, but in his heart remained unsaid. For he himself could not speak of his deepest secret. And when he entered the city, all the people came to meet him, and they were crying out to him with one voice. And the elders of the city stood forth and said, "Go not yet away from us. At noontide you have been in our twilight, and your youth has given us dreams to dream. No stranger are you among us, nor a guest, but our son and our dearly beloved. Suffer not yet our eyes to hunger for your face." As you make changes, there are going to be people that are not going to like it. As you move forward and as you grow, there are going to be people that are not going to like it. For good and bad reasons. There are going to be people that don't like it because you have been their energetic fountain. You have been the one that they have stolen things from. And I don't mean physical things. I mean, it could be physical things, but you know what I'm saying? They are the ones that have used and manipulated you. And then you're going to have the people that are going to miss you for the good reasons, because you were an amazing part of their life. You were an amazing part of a situation, a job, a group. They're going to miss you for good reasons. But you cannot hold yourself back from change, because people will miss you. Because just like you, they will make changes and people will miss them. And those people will make changes and people will miss them. Ripples create ripples. And the priests and the priestesses said unto him, "Let not the waves of the sea separate us now, and the years you have spent in our midst become a memory. You have walked among us a spirit, and your shadow has been a light upon our faces." He showed them how to look inside themselves. He showed them how to do shadow work before shadow work was even coined a term. He showed them how to dream dreams. He showed them how to overcome sadness. He showed them the light by shining the shadow on their faces. Much have we loved you, but speechless was our love, and with veils it has been veiled. Yet now it cries aloud unto you, and would stand revealed before you. And has it ever been a love that knows not its own depth until the hour of separation? There are going to be people that have no idea what you have done for them, because they were too selfish and blind to see it until you walk away. It is part of life, and it is part of change. And when it is time for you to change, it's time for you to change. And it's not your fault if those people didn't see your worth and your ripples before you left. Not everyone is meant to go on your path the entire way with you. And others came also and entreated him. But he answered them not, only bent his head, and those who stood near saw tears falling upon his breast. When you make changes, it's always bittersweet. You're happy you're making a change, you're shifting, you're growing, but at the same time you're sad because you know that you're leaving people behind. You're leaving a situation that was a part of your life behind. This right here is all about change and movement. The people that are the closest to you and the people that know you the most are going to see the tears you weep for those parts of your life. Because we're taught just to move on and shove things in a box and never look at it, never pay attention, because that's hurt and we don't deal with that. But the thing is, you have to grieve parts of your life, good and bad. You have to. If you don't acknowledge that it was a part of you, that it was a part of your life, as he's acknowledging his time in the city, then you're never going to see the lessons that you learned. And he and the people proceeded toward the great square before the temple. And there came out of the sanctuary a woman, and she was a seeress. And he looked upon her with exceeding tenderness, for it was she who had first sought and believed in him when he had been but a day in their city. And I want you to listen to this next part, because this speaks about someone that sets you on your path. He says that she believed in him when he had only been there a single day. There are always going to be people that see your potential, that see you for who you are, that see your soul for where it needs to be. Whether this is a friend, a boss, a coworker, a guru, whoever it is, there are going to be people that are light posts for you on the way. But I really want you to listen to what she says to him. Everyone else is sad and they're telling him to stay. They're begging him to stay, not to move. Prophet, in a quest of the uttermost, long have you searched the distances for your ships. And now your ship has come, and you must go. Deep is your longing for the land of your memories and the dwelling place of your greatest desires. And our love would not bind you, nor our needs hold you. I want you to think about that. She's the one who believed in him when he first got there. She's the one who showed him how to be in that place. She was his guru. And now she is telling him, it is time for you to go. The people that support you and the people that see the amazing part of your path, the people that can see your potential and see who you are going to become, will always support you on every change that you make. Always. Even if you lose touch with them for decades. When you come back into each other's path, they will show you. They will be still supportive of you. And they will be proud of you for everything you have done, overcome, etc. Yet this we ask, ere you leave, that you speak to us and give us your truth. And we will give it to our children, and they to their children, and it shall not perish. In your aloneness you have watched our days, and in your wakefulness you have listened to the weeping and the laughter of our sleep. Now disclose us to ourselves, and tell us all that has been shown to you, that which is between birth and death. When you go to make a change, when you go to leave, when you go to shift, the people that believe in you, the people that love you, the people that are supporting you with this change, they'll ask what you learned. They'll ask to just kind of have a goodbye party, a remembrance. They'll ask to just sit and chat because they want to know what it is you've learned while you were in this space. Why do you think jobs have exit interviews? Why do you think the military debriefs soldiers? Because they learn the good and the bad about what's going on around them. The military debriefs soldiers so they know the good and the bad, what they need to continue doing and what they need to change. Exit interviews with companies are the exact same way. What was good while you were working here, and what can we change? So don't be upset in a good or a bad way when people want to know what you learned, when people want to have a last lunch or coffee before you move. And don't shy away from those things. Sometimes we don't do it because we don't want to say goodbye. And by doing that, that is saying goodbye. But you're missing out on an amazing opportunity when you miss those meetings. No, you're not required to do it. But you have no idea who you're going to help by doing this. I'll share the name of the book again as soon as I mark my place here. But I had a friend kind of turn me on to this book, and it's utterly fantastic. This is the collected works of Kahlil Gibran, Kahlil. And I'll probably read a little bit from it every day while we're doing this series. But one of the reasons that I wanted to start with that, and one of the reasons that I wanted to talk about that and dissect some of that, is because everyone has been going through massive changes within the last 4 years. And it doesn't sound like a long time. When you think back to 2019, it doesn't seem like that long ago, does it? Just think for a minute. 2019. Doesn't seem like that long ago. It's been 4 years. 4. How much has the world changed in 4 years? How much have you changed in 4 years? Are you the same person that you were in 2019? I'm not. When you look back, and I want you to actively for a minute look back at yourself in 2019. In no way am I that person. In no way are you that person. How many things, how many places, how many situations, how many people were you so engulfed in 2019 that meant the world to you, that your whole world revolved around those things that now are not part of your path? How many people in 2019 meant the world to you, and now you don't speak? Whether it's movement, whether it's a separation, whatever it is, how many people, how many things, how many situations are no longer in your path? Have you taken the time to fully grieve those losses, good and bad? Because getting a promotion, moving across the country, getting married, all of those things are good things. But you still have to grieve the things you lost. You still have to grieve the things you lost. Because if you don't, you're missing out on amazing truths from your path. And I want you to think about some of the things that I just read to you guys. I want you to think about all of the people that he touched. 12 years sounds like a long time, but so is 4. 4 years is a crazy long time. A year is a crazy long time. If you think right now, in this moment, that you have a whole year before something happens, it seems like an eternity. If I came to your house right now and I said, hey, I have this amazing trip planned for me and you. We're going to go to Tahiti and we're going to do all these things next year. A year from today, I'm going to come and I'm going to pick you up and we're going to just go explore. You would be beside yourself excited. And then your very next thought would be that's a whole year. And then suddenly you're going to start worrying, well, what if I'm not living here in a year? What if I'm not here in a year? What if I can't go? What if? You start thinking about all of the things that could happen in that year. But yet, when that year comes around and we're leaving, we're flying on the plane to Tahiti, and you're looking back at the past year at all of the things that have changed, but you're still going on this trip. When we look back at time, it's like this. Think about when you were in grade school, when you were in elementary school. You were so excited to get to kindergarten and go to school. So excited to get to first grade. But then when you really understood how much school you had to have, when you understood that from kindergarten to your senior year, that is 13 years of school. 13. And when you hit about 5th, 6th, 7th grade, that's a lot. It's daunting to think that you still have 5, 6, 7 years of school left. And you can't wait to be a senior. You just can't wait. And then suddenly you're a senior. And your senior year goes so fast. Faster than any other school year you've ever had. And suddenly you graduated and you're at the end. And you look back. And this is why a lot of people have problems figuring out where they're going to go after high school. It has nothing to do with your family. It has nothing to do with where you're born. It has nothing to do with any of that. It has to do with the fact that we're not taught how to kind of grieve that part of us. Because when you're a kid, school is your life. School is your job. You spend as much time at school as you do sleeping at night. You spend less time at home with family, with friends, with activities than you do at school. We're not taught how to properly let go and grieve that. So this is why a lot of people panic. It's why a lot of people feel like they have to have a plan. They have to go to college or join the military or go to trade school, or they have to have this plan in place. They don't allow themselves time to grieve. And over that summer before they go to a different school or whatever, they spend time getting prepared for that, and they don't grieve that. They don't grieve that. We don't take time to let go. 12 years is a long time. 4 years is a long time. 4 years is what we spend in high school. The time in our life that is one of the most important times. 4 years. Time is not a thing. Time is not a thing. We have no idea how time works. And I pointed out the difference between looking back and looking forward, because I want you to see how different time is. When we're looking at the future, it feels like forever. It feels like we will never get to that next spot that we're just so dying to get to. But when we look back, things went like that. All those things that we were dying to get to. But we didn't take the time to grieve and let go. So I love that part, that very first part of the prophet, because it talks about all of the ripples over 12 years' time that he made with all the people in the city. And they didn't see it, and they didn't know it, and they didn't feel it until he was ready to leave. Until they realized he is leaving. Your ripples matter more than you will ever know. You have no idea who and how your ripples touch the world around you. If you guys have followed me for any length of time, then you know that I talk about ripples a lot. You know that I say that I see all of the ripples you make, and I see what would happen if your ripples were no longer here. Because I do. No matter what ripples you make, no matter how minuscule you feel those ripples are, getting gas in your car in the morning, stopping to get a coffee, smiling at the lady at the grocery store. No matter how small you think those ripples are, they matter more than you'll ever know. We all think that big ripples are what really matters. Well, if I could do this, I would change the world. Or if I could do that, it would change the city around me. Or if I could do that, it would help these people. Or if I could do that, it would help those people. We only think about the big ripples. And then we judge ourselves because we don't feel like we've made big enough ripples. But I want to point something out to you. I want to pose a question to you. This is your spiritual philosophy question of the day. I want you to think about how many people you come in contact with on a daily basis. Whether it's just random people at the store, in traffic, etc., or whether it's people in your house, your spouse, your kids, your best friends, your parents, your sisters, brothers. I want you to think about that. Just for a minute, just think about it. You know the people that are close to you that you come in contact with all the time. And then you have no idea how many people your ripples touch directly or indirectly. You have a massive amount of influence on the ripples that are continually around you. The people that live in your house, your coworkers, your best friends. But do you know that there are so many people that you touch without even knowing you touch those ripples? I want to kind of pose a little question to you, and I've posed this question before on a couple of lives and so on, but I want you to think about this. Theoretically, if something happened to you today, and your ripples were no longer here, because it happens all the time, do you know how many people your ripples would touch? That one final ripple, do you know how much that one final ripple would touch people? Some people are like, well, I mean, my family would miss me, and, work would have to hire someone else, and blah, blah, blah. That one last final ripple has a spread that you have no clue how far it reaches. Say your one final ripple happens and the shock wave is done. That ripple is still traveling. So in 3 weeks, a dentist appointment comes up that you had scheduled and you don't show up. And so the lady at the desk calls and someone answers, or they find out that you've passed away. And she then tells the people in the office. She tells the dental technicians. She tells the dentist. Well, one of those dental technicians maybe just lost a sibling, and it hits her very hard. And so she goes and she visits her mom, who she hasn't talked to in months, and it fixes their relationship, all because of your ripple. Maybe that dentist goes home and he hugs his kids just a little bit tighter. Maybe he goes and instead of going home and working and researching, he spends the evening with his kids watching movies and laughing and giggling and hugging them. And maybe one of those kids that he spends time with that evening, it shifts their whole perception of their parent. So instead of falling into video games and other things that eventually took him away from the family unit, he is pulled right back in. Maybe instead of trying to do things to get his parents to notice him and turning into a life that ends very abruptly, very shortly, it pulls him back in. It pulls that family back together. And maybe that kid goes on to become a leader, to change other people's lives because of that ripple that you made. You'll never ever know that child. You'll never know the people he touches. But he was set on a path because of the ripple you made. Every single thing you do makes a difference in this world. Everything you do. Every breath you take makes a difference in this world. Because when you are no longer taking those breaths, that final ripple that you make will be a nuclear bomb, and it will send waves everywhere, far beyond what you could ever imagine. Because I just gave you one single example. Think about how many more there are and will be. Think about how many more there are. That was simply your dentist's office. How will it affect your children, your spouse, your family, your friends? How will it affect their children, their spouses, their family, their friends? How will it affect their children, their spouses, their family, their friends? You have no idea. You have absolutely no idea. The world is broken as fuck because we have forgotten that our ripples matter. The world has forgotten that its ripples matter. And it makes me sad. But it is what it is. I don't want you to ever forget that your ripples matter. Whether you've been somewhere 12 years, 4 years, 1 year, 4 months, your ripples matter. More than you will ever know. So, I just want you to take a couple of deep breaths. And I want you guys to know how much I love you and how much your ripples matter to me. Every single one of you that is watching this right now, that hears this later on, that randomly comes across it on YouTube, your ripples matter. Your ripples matter. They matter to me. So don't you ever think that your ripples do not matter. I'm proud of you. Don't you forget it. I love you guys. And guess what? I'll see you tomorrow. Have a good rest of your day.